Hey man, I got a bonus question for y'all. All right, it ain't really a question, but I would like to for somebody to give some insight on the difference between interruptions and the difference between distractions. I did some looking around about it, but I couldn't really come up with a good um, distinction. You know what I mean between the two that suited me. So I was like, you know what? Let me bring it to the panel and see if one of these smart brothers can help break it down for me. So, anybody want to give it a shot, please help me break down the difference between interruptions and distractions.
I would say an interruption is something that I can't control. You know, like if the power goes out, that's a service interruption. Something that comes from a third party. You know what I'm saying? Something outside of my control is considered to me to be an interruption. I'm not going to interrupt myself. I did it intentionally. If I did it, if I interrupt myself, it's a distraction. It's in the same spectrum of distraction versus hindrance. Like you can get interrupted, become distracted, and now your distraction is now your new hindrance. You know, so there's a progression. I would think it's ultimately boiled down to like the choice factor of any of these situations we described. How do you respond to your interruption?
Yeah, I agree with that. That's actually an interruption is definitely something that's out of your control. Phone call, knock on the door, you know. Because for me, and a distraction is something that pulls you away from what you're doing, right? That's a distraction. So, as far as I always say to everybody, like my solution to distractions or interruptions is I'm very selfish with myself. I come first, right? So I tell everybody, in order for you not to be distracted by other people, you got to put yourself first, right? You got to be willing to hang up the phone. You got to be willing to, you have to be selfish. You have to be selfish in order to not let anybody disrupt your time, right? If it's not good for me and it's not the right time for me, you're not going to hear from me because I have to do me first, right? Because you're not paying my mortgage. You're not paying my bills, right? The only people that come into my life and I wouldn't call it a distraction is my family. I'd put down the phone. I'd pick up the phone for them, right? It's the same reason like every year. I go through my phone every year and I see who's in my phone and I delete the people that did not call me for my birthday and I start all over again. Because if I'm important, you're going to say happy birthday to me, right? So I start all over again. And if I don't pick up the phone if there's no name tied to it. That means I don't know you anyways. And if it's important, you'll leave me a message. So you have to be selfish in order to not get distracted by other people because you can't save everybody, right? And you're no good to anybody if you're not healthy firsthand. You can't help somebody if you ain't 100%. And if I'm doing something and you're calling, you're a distraction to me. I'm not picking up the phone because I have to finish this or I have to do that. I will get to you when I get to you. And that's how you have to be that way. It's not a bad thing, but if you don't do that, you're being pulled in every direction, right? That's how I see it. So I'm very selfish when it comes to my time. And I'll do it if it fits in my schedule, but I'm not fitting in your schedule, you know? And an interruption is when I'm drawing and somebody knocks on the door and says, "Do you want something?" There's a distraction for me. It's like, really? Like you didn't see the sign on the door, "Do not disturb"? Like you can't read, right? It's true. You have to be selfish in order to not get distracted. You have to be willing to tell somebody, "I'm sorry you're sick. I'll call you with some soup later." Click and go about your business. Because if you don't, you're gonna be pulled. You know. So I have priorities of who I talk to, and that's only within family, unless it's something really like major. That's the solution.
Interruptions versus distraction.
Yep.
Time.
Yeah.
Antoine said it best, man. He literally used the word for me because I have to go back to the whole focus thing. I view the difference between the two is the time that my focus is interrupted. Well, I use the word explanation wrong. Bad. That's a bad thing to do. So the amount of time that my focus is derailed. I can't remember who used that word previously, but that's the perfect word. Yeah, an interruption is a very brief break in my focus. I mentioned previously a phone call. If it's a phone call, yep, I got it. I'll call you back, whatever the case may be. I'm busy. That's an interruption. But something that distracts my focus for an extended period of time, the one thing I have zero control over is time, right? So when it comes down to my focus, if it's a short break in it because of something external that's going on, then to me, that's an interruption. If it's a prolonged break because it has really pulled my focus off, like, and I use a real good example that nobody will ever deny. If your kid falls and gets hurt and is literally bleeding, you're not going to say, okay, well, go clean it up. No, you're going to stop what you're doing and you're going to go and see about your child. You're going to tend to your child. You're going to make sure that, the wound is dressed, make sure they're feeling good, probably go sit down with them for a minute to make sure that they're comforted, all of that great stuff. Um, Even though that is a time thing, to me, that's an interruption. That is a necessary break in my focus because I promise you, nothing on this desk will come before them. So whatever I'm doing here, it can wait. I will go tend to them and then come back. So that's an interruption. But something that literally takes my focus all the way off for an extended period of time, that to me is a distraction.
I wanted to add to what Coach said, what Dr. Easley said, not to interrupt. One thing he's right. If I get a call in the morning and it's from my mom or my dad and it's not good news, like they're feeling sick, that will just ruin my day until I know they're all right. It just drains me because my mind is on them because they're up there in age. So everything matters. With this whole COVID thing, I was paranoid drawing every day. So when my father called me and he did this, how you doing? What's up? Whoa. Oh. And he's like, no, I'm fine. I don't have none of that. The rest of the day, I'm like, is he lying? Is he faking it? Is he just doesn't want to tell me? He's putting me first? Dr. Easley, I got you on that one, man. It's so true. Oh, when he said that, chills ran through my bones because he's right.
I feel like there's something wrong with me.
You see, but it's like, thanks for even saying that, Antoine. Okay, I gotta, now that I'm trying to take away from your question, see, there was a way I was hoping you were gonna go, but you didn't. And it was gonna be about not distraction. It was another word, D word. Interruption versus interruption versus oh dang it, nothing. I just lost it. Got it. Interruption versus disruption.
Yeah.
Now so now I'm gonna go with Vic, because an interruption for me, same way, it's something that's out of my control. I probably maybe didn't see it coming. So sometimes I may see it coming though, but sometimes I didn't see it coming. But when a disruption happens, I feel like a disruption is meant to knock me off. See, I don't know that an interruption is always meant to knock me off. But I think a disruption is meant to knock me off. You know what I'm saying? It's like Antoine saying something, da, da, da. Boom, let me disrupt. Blah, da, 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 da. You see, the aim is to throw him off. The aim's not to learn nothing from him. The aim isn't even to, I'm trying to agitate him. You see? So then that to me.
Disruption is intentional.
Okay, there we go. Exactly. See, you see, so then thank you. Hey, see, brilliance all over. When that happens, how I address it, that becomes whether it's a distraction or not. You see what I'm saying? Because it's like if I focus in on that, right? So I'm saying, put myself in Antoine's seat. If I'm Antoine and I focus in on that, now I'm distracted. You see, if I let it F with me, basically. You know what I'm saying? If I let it mess with me, right? And then, but see, I would have to think about what Vic just said so I won't get distracted. See, I'll have to think about, oh, that's intentional. That motherfucker trying to mess with me. All right. Boom. You see, similar, thanks for what Antoine said, it brought back to my remembrance what I said, right? The reason why it's different, right? My mom and dad, something happening to them, that's not, unless you got those parents that mess with you, but that's not a disruption. That's an interruption, right? And I'm going to allow that. I got to say, I'm going to allow that to take me because it matters to me, So to me, going back to the question about the 40s, right? I still think that a lot of what becomes now going to your question, brother, what's a distraction is for me now is kind of intentional. Like, it's like I kind of let it take my attention. It's rare, and I'm not trying to say I'm so in tune, but it's rare that I get thrown off. You know, it's like if I'm thrown off, I know I'm thrown off. I'm like, hey, Antoine, I got that call this morning, bro. I'm pissed right now, man. I don't feel like talking. Clean, like I already know it. You see what I'm saying? But because of but going to what Coach said, but if he needs me, I have to say that sometimes at first, so he knows I'm not trying to be a jerk right now, man. I can't be present with you because I'm distracted by this. But I'm gonna say something. When someone disrupts me,
Different.
right, and I feel like it's intentional, and I know it. My aim is to disrupt them as bad as I can. You understand me? And I'm intentionally going to let that ass whooping be
Yes.
because I want it. You with me, Vic? You with me? You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
I'm going to deliberately inconvenience somebody. I'm going to inconvenience you.
It. Yes, I'm in it. I'm distracted on purpose. Thomas, you got something to finish. I'll get to it tomorrow on purpose.
That's why I said unhealthy competition. That's what I said. Because like at that point, I'm in unhealthy competition and I know I'm wrong. You know what I'm saying? But I don't care. I won't smoke.
I want this. See, it's like I want this. So here's I got a question about that, right? Okay. Interruption versus distractions. My question is one, like to me, one difference is the control that I have or the control that I give over. I'm not articulating the well right now, but I'm kind of making it about me right now. Like I feel like the way the brothers were describing it is almost like it made it external, which I needed that helped me, but I'm making it internal, and I almost feel like a distract, like an interruption. Here again is something that's not in my control, but a distraction at that point is something that I allow to become that. And I think that's the difference. Go back to what Vic said, you're right. Interruption is out of my control. But I'm kind of saying that distraction to me is in my control. That makes sense.
It is, because you can't control what other people do. You can only control what you do.
You don't control how you respond.
You can't control what others do. You can only control what you do. So, like I said, I'm selfish with my time. You're not going to distract me. I have control over that. I'm not gonna let you get in my head. I got things to do. If you say we're not friends, we're not this, we're not that, fine. Call you later. Really, listen. I'm sleeping good at night, but you will need me and you'll call me.
See, it seems like there's a consensus there, right? Like we're all at a point in our life. Then it sounds, from what I'm hearing, where a distraction is something that I know I still got to be mindful of it, but it's something that we are basically in control of I think in many ways. Like we're in control of.
We're in control of how we connect to it.
Yeah,
you're in control of how we say it again.
We're in control of how we connect to it.
Yep.
Can you elaborate?
Meaning like if something happens, right? You make a choice to connect to being associated with the frustration from it, based on how you respond to it. Like if you don't acknowledge it, the other side doesn't know if they even made an impact.
See, Vic must have been reading my mind. Vic was reading my mind.
Exactly.
I don't.
That makes sense.
That's it right there.
That's why I'm able to talk right through people, because I don't care what they're about to say. It's not going to refute what I'm saying, because I'm speaking from a logical place that comes from love. So if they don't respond to what I'm saying in a way that makes them happy, then they got poor expectation management. They're not hearing me. You know what I'm saying? And they want their opinion to be more important. And that's the unhealthy competition portion of everything that I say. You know what I'm saying? So, because if anything involves you investing energy into a low frequency discussion that produces no outcome when nobody's better, that you can already see, then you're making a deliberate connection to resistance that doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a certain frequency of argument that you got to have. That's what elevated dialogue is about. So like if you want to argue about fashion, you're going to have a different outcome. You want to argue about politics, you're going to have a different outcome. You want to argue about economics, the outcome is different. The key is to have a discussion that may have an argument or that progresses into a dialogue, and everybody learns something better. You know what I'm saying? Than what they had before, which changed the network, which changes your understanding, your expectation management, the reinforcement of ROI, return on investment of your energy and whatever it is that you're doing. See, this is a step. It's designed to scale up. That's what elevated. That's what the word is. You know what I'm saying? So like the goal is to recognize the difference between an interruption and a disruption. The goal is to recognize the return on investment of your energy. How do both of us improve by having this discussion? If it's a two-way street, you see what I'm saying? And like, if you can answer that to yourself, and then look at the person that you're talking to, and you're like, oh, okay, we'll just move on to the next thing, and you can ignore them, leave them on red. You know what I'm saying? Because it's an unhealthy competition. That's the greatest situational awareness that any person could ever have, and that is the key. That is the schematic of minding your own damn business.
Yeah, Vic was reading my mind. The best way I say it is the only control that you have is self-control.
That's all you got.
So once you can control self, nothing else can control you. That's the best way I look at it. So I spend a whole bunch of my time making sure that I have positive self-control. So regardless of anybody attempting to distract me, I can recognize it. That's okay. But the energy I give to it, like Vic says, it will not feed into the discussion that they're trying to have.
And on top of that, like, you can't make bad news sound pretty. It's still bad news. The right time to tell somebody is when you think about it. Just tell them, because you know what? You don't know how, you can't control how they're going to react to whatever you tell them at the time you tell them. So just tell them. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? That's how it is. I don't need everybody to like me. I just need everybody to do what I need them to do. I'm not asking you to like me. I really don't. And I really don't care if you do. As long as I get what I need out of you, I'm on to the next. Because it depends on how close you are to me. Right? Because you can't make, everybody tries to be politically correct and make bad news sound pretty. You can't. Okay. You got cancer. What do you want me to tell you? You got 6 months to live. Let me get on with living.
There's a great movie that captures that. It's called Don't Look Up. It's on Netflix. I think you should check that out if you haven't seen it.
I'll watch that. You know what I mean? I tell everybody, fall on your back. So if you can look up, you can get up. Just get the fuck up. Like, you're trying, how am I going to lose weight? By not putting the fork in your mouth? You can't tell them how you tell somebody they're fat. They're fat. You don't go with the BMI talk? That's doctor shit. You know what I mean? Buddy, you're not fitting into your jeans anymore. That looks, you know, you could tell a girl, hey, it looks like you're busting out of that dress. You might want to lose a couple. It is what it is. And people try to make this whole, let me tell them the right way. Oh, you can't tell them the right. Yeah, you can. Shock them into losing the fat fuck on their weight. Just tell them. You have to tell. Sometimes people take it better directly. Stop trying to make it pretty. And don't worry about them reacting, because you can't control that. You cannot control how people will react to whatever you tell them. So you might as well just tell them. You know? That's how I see it. And Vic's right. You know what I mean? You can't control the outcome of what you're going to say to somebody.
Write that down. Antoine said I was right.
The date is March 23rd. It is 8:37 p.m.
Yeah. Write that down.
Get that down.
I say you're right, Vic. I'm always on your side. I mean, I got my Lord and Savior coach right over there. You know what I mean?
Antoine ain't got no accountability. He making sure that everybody can cover for Antoine right now. That's how selfish he is.
You know, I want to speak on that. Like, you know, I don't know how people could come for me when, you know what? It's like, why are you going to come for me just because you heard the truth?
Hey, that's the story of my life.
Why are you going to come for me?
Yes,
Don't blame me.
That's the story of my life.
You know what? Why are you going to come for me if you know the truth? If it's the truth. I'm not going to tell you you're not fat when you're fat. If somebody listen, I'm 5'6". I ain't getting any taller. If somebody says I'm short, I go, and? What do you want me to tell you? I'm not growing. That's it. That's how it is.
Stop telling people your height, Antoine.
No, but I'm just saying in general. You know what I mean? I mean,
how tall are you when you stand on your wallet?
Exactly.
No, we want to know how tall you think.
Question.
You know what I mean? It's like height and looks goes out the window.
No. How tall do you think you? No, you're not. But all things are true. All things are true. All things are true. It's true that you're not right. It's true that you are right.
Okay.
So, but I still want to know how tall you think you are when you're standing on your wallet.
Put it this way. Never lost any game with it. If I don't get you, I'm going to fly into the bit and get it. Depending on what I want out of you. And it's true. You know what I mean? You go out with a couple of friends that I have. You sit down at the bar. They all know you got Rolexes on. They ain't stupid. They're looking at you just like you're looking at them. But what do you want out of them? I mean, come on, let's go. You don't go to Vegas to gamble. You go to Vegas for the free drinks and women. If you can't get laid in Vegas, cut it off and become a monk. I'm telling you.
I knew you was gonna fail the challenge. I just knew you was gonna fail. I knew you was gonna fail.
Nigga, you set them up for it.
You know, when you go to Vegas, you know what we do when we go to Vegas? You look at all the women. This is good.
This is intentional.
You're gonna like this one. When you go to
That
Vegas,
was a distraction.
That was a distraction.
I was gonna say that's a distraction.
That was a distraction in the
That was a
before the show.
distraction. That
He
was
fell
smooth.
right on into
That
it.
was smooth.
You know what I'm saying? Like, hey,
I'm telling you, when you go to
you
Vegas,
failed.
you know when you go to Vegas, what we do? And this is what we do at Vegas. You go to Vegas, you go into the nice pool.
You're being a
and you look
distraction.
at all the wedding. You look at all the women that have a white band on their hand without a ring there. They all took it off to have fun. You see the tan line right there. Those are the victims right there.
You gotta stop going into spaces where you're looking at women's fingers anyway.
I mean, that's what you want to do. You're not going there to drink.
Yes, speaking from experience.
Hey folks, everybody that's watching this right now, you're watching a distraction and a disruption. You know what I'm saying? Like I let Antoine be his own distraction and disruption. You see what I'm saying? See, all camera, y'all didn't hear when I said, hey, go the whole show and don't mention women. You know what I'm saying? And he did it to himself.
I mentioned it because
No. That's not it. That's not what. No, don't be putting no extra shit on it. You know what I'm saying? We don't need no relish.
That is called,
you know
that is called justification.
Yeah, stop moving the goalposts. I don't give a damn how big the wheels under the goalposts and how fast you can move it. That's not what we talked about. You took the L. You know what I'm saying? That, folks, is look right now. See. Antoine was having an unhealthy discussion, unhealthy competition with reality. That's all I want to say.
The youth. We are trying to help the youth. You understand? We're trying to help the youth. We need them to recognize game.
But I do want to say something though.
Go ahead, Coach.
And so I appreciate everything that Antoine said because he's absolutely right. You know, bad news doesn't get better with time. And one of the things that I find myself doing, I don't tell people things for the sake of trying to convince them. We got to get out of the habit of trying to convince people. What I say is I tell you stuff just so that you can consider it. Consider it. Don't make a decision now. Just go and think about it. If you go and think about it, and if you just find one sliver of anything that I said, right, then now you have a decision to make. But outside of that, I've lost the desire to convince anybody of anything that I'm trying to tell them a long time ago.
But Coach, that seemed to make sense when you have what you said, when you have self-control, right? When you have self-control, and you're fully aware, then you go to what Antoine said. I'm my own distraction. So no one can get me to do anything because I'm that focused. You see, and then when you get to what Vic was saying, right, then now you completely understand when you see the unhealthy competition coming, you're like, oh man. And then you make a choice whether you choose to do it. Going back to what Antoine said, I'm my own distraction. I decided to engage. I decided to disengage, which is what I said. In my 40s, I really don't get distracted. I'm like, no. If I want to focus on that, I'll focus on that. If I want to take the time, I'll take the time. Like I went to see Good Mob in Charlotte. That's a distraction from my business. And I went to see him in Birmingham. And because that's a distraction from feeling bad. I wanted to feel good. Let me go where they keep smoking weed. I don't care. You know, I did it because I wanted to. You know, I made the choice. And I think that people who get distracted easily need to, like wake up. And then I think it goes back to the question. I think Vic answered it or Coach did. So it was between the three, you, Antoine, and Coach. Y'all were saying something about discipline. And I think for me, it goes back to that, right? If you don't have the discipline, if you don't have the muscle developed, then it's easier for you to get distracted. Like you can't show me a commercial and then I go buy something. You can't show up at my door and offer me a deal and I just buy it. I'm just gonna look at you like. But here's the other thing. When I'm sad, I don't also go buy something when I'm sad to make myself feel better. When I feel down, I don't go eat something. You see, but it's not because I'm perfect. It's because I understand that stuff doesn't work for me now. I had to figure it out. So I think a tool is, I'm definitely going to say I'm about being direct. I'm from Alabama. We're not direct in the dirty South. Big know that. I feel sometimes that indirectness is a distraction. I'm like, shut up and let's get to it. you know, and that's one of the things I loved about living on the East Coast. It kind of made me speed up a lot, you know, and what the heck are we here talking about? So I think one tool is, you know, one way to clear up the distractions is get to the point, you know, like know what it is that you're focused on, know what it is that you're doing, and don't let anybody take you off of it. But there's one other thing I want to say, and then I'd love to hear what you other kings have to say, is when something's not working, stop creating an excuse to keep doing the BS that you're doing. Because now you're making the thing that's not working a distraction even further. You know, I get sick. I can't stand when people do that.
That's the definition of insanity.
You see, and bro, they use God, they use love. It's just like what this whole thing was about. They use women, they use relationships, they use everything that's not adding to what they're doing as the reason why they keep doing the stupid thing that they're doing. So that's it. I just say stop making excuses.
That's why you're right, Dr. Easley. People have to look in the mirror and say, listen, that's the person that caused me to fail. Don't point the finger at somebody. You failed because you failed, not because I had anything to do. I may have pushed you in that direction, but you're the idiot that followed it. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? People tell, you know, I hear people falling off the, you know, you hear people go to the Grand Canyon and there's no barriers and they fall off. I'll go, that's one idiot that wasn't looking where he was going. Nobody told him to go to the edge. I mean, come on, the sign's there, no barriers. If you get vertigo because you walk to the edge, what do you want me to tell you? I ain't feeling sorry for you. I'm sorry you fell, but come on, seriously, like. No.
What was you gonna say, Vic?
I would say the main point. I would try to get down to a couple of words, and I think unhealthy competition and poor expectation management encompasses all of this. You know, I want to reiterate that because small words should trigger thought patterns. At this stage of our life that we're in, nothing is simple. You know what I'm saying? We have to take complex deduction to understand why we don't connect to certain things. Like that's why you sit down and analyze. Used to be told that you was crazy to talk to yourself, and in reality, as you got older, that's just called thinking. you know what I'm saying? When you really break it down, you know, you're having a conversation with yourself because you're using deductive reasoning, creative thinking. You know what I'm saying? You're breaking it down. You're looking at all possible outcomes, similar to Doctor Strange. You know what I'm saying? You got 16 different ways you can see something working out, just depending on the resources available. But if you're in one end of that conversation where you're the person with all the resources, you can expect a lot of people looking for handouts. You can, if you're the person without a lot of resources, other people can expect you to be the one looking for the handout. So depending on what end of the conversation you're on is directly tied to your expectation management. Because if you have a goal to be successful, and you have to interact with people to make that success more tangible, then you have to have expectations that are custom to the people that you're with. You can't go ask a librarian to teach you how to change alternators. I'm not saying that librarians don't change alternators. I'm saying that the probability of a librarian being the first subject matter expert is probably not as high as a person that actually works in a garage. You know what I'm saying? So you have to know where you're going to go ask the right questions, because if you're not paying attention, you're going to be your own resistance. You're going to be the first idiot in your plan. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you operating off of an expectation on a variable that you don't even understand. You know what I'm saying? And so when you do that, you ruin other people's expectation management. You waste their time. And then guess what? Guess who is a distraction? It's you. You're the distraction. You know what I'm saying? So like, you got to disconnect from your resistance of others. You got to go where you celebrate it. And you need to spend the time with the people that give you the most return on investment of your energy and participation.
Yeah. Can I just add something just real quick on that?
Go ahead.
And there's some, you know, and I know it goes without saying, but Could some of that celebration though that people getting, could that some will be a distraction? Like if it's celebrating something that's not positive,
if it's designated, it's cool. You know what I'm saying? And the word celebration, in terms of the context of what I'm saying, is going where you're reciprocated.
Yes, sir. Got it.
Yeah.
Boom.
That's
right.
it. Boom. Drop the mic.
I just use the proper popular phraseology, because people like to say go where you celebrate it, not where you tolerate it. But like really, they should be saying go where you reciprocate it.
Bruh. I'm muting. I'm done.
No, hey, you might well unmute, because it's the time of the show where we need a nugget of knowledge. It would be a disservice to have Dr. Easley on here and not put him in a hot seat and not be able to give us a couple of minutes of some knowledge, some information, anything that he would like to share, any nugget of knowledge that he would like to give us. The floor is yours. We all gonna mute, and we want to see nothing but smoking fire coming off them lips. I stole that term from Antoine.
All right, okay.
I'm kidding.
Smoking fire coming off my lips. A nugget of knowledge. You can never outgrow, the Most High or God, however you choose to call it or that or them or him. So you can never outgrow it. It was the being, it was here before us. So instead of trying to outgrow something or to outlive it, I think it's better to try to understand it. The best way to understand it is to learn to understand other people. When you focus on understanding others, you actually learn more about yourself. As a Black person who lived in Montana for some years, and I was living in a situation where I had to do that. It was like I had to learn other people. I was the outsider. And what I want to say is that when you are the outsider and you're the unfamiliar person, when you have security in yourself, everybody's your guest. That's what I'll close with.
Well, I like it. Thank you all for taking time out of your life to support the Uncle Junior Network, Elevated Dialogue, and myself. I appreciate you and your perspectives. Do not forget to subscribe, like, share, and hit that notification button. Deuces. Go buy my book.